Hello, welcome back. Back here on Tomboy Official. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm just here to talk today about building deeper connections and relationships with people. A lot of people are out there back in the dating game, back in the dating world, back in the dating life. Trying to interact more, trying to socialize more. I know it's still controversial about, interacting, socializing, meeting new people, but at the same time, I'm not here to tell people what to do, what not to do, but really when it comes down to things, ultimately our health is important. If we really only get one shot at it, it's kind of like, you got to balance everything as well as possible, right? So it's super important to balance your health. And that includes social interactions with people. Healthy social interactions is part of helping to balance your life. Other things included on that list would be financial balance, physical health balance, like as far as dieting, exercising, getting sunlight, getting fresh air, things like stretching and making sure you have that good mind-body connection, all those things in mind, as well as, mental health, emotional health. If you're seeing doctors, if you're seeing different, people who go to like shamans or pastors or priests or rabbis or whoever you see, on that spiritual level, and to help you with the emotional and spiritual related things. Even if you're not spiritual or not religious at all, still just connecting in nature and, just connecting with the universe and earth and, everyone doing their part, recycling, things like that. It's all definitely part of, things that we kind of put a lot of work into every day, right? And it's challenging, it's hard, but when it comes to relationships and physical health and emotional health, definitely want to consider, the social interactions. And unfortunately, during COVID, a lot of people did experience high divorce rates, and then also with mental health needs, it's probably the highest year in 2020 that people can remember of mental health services becoming kind of more of a mainstream topic. Mental Health Awareness Month. It was already there, but I just noticed, because I work in the mental health field, that, it was always pretty taboo, going to therapy, seeing a psychiatrist, those types of things. And I don't mean like to say that there's anything wrong with going, of course I work in the field. So of course I'm an advocate for, people who believe in those types of services. And the reason why I mentioned like pastors and shamans and different types of healers and things, some people aren't comfortable with the mainstream kind of Western medicine models and things like that, which I understand, and that makes sense. I'm not fully comfortable with all of it either. I'm very particular about certain things. Some examples I would use, I'm not really too interested in talking to providers who don't know anything about LGBT people or anything about ethnic minorities or anything about different spiritual practices that are kind of like maybe not even mainstream religions, but just different ways that we connect with things that are kind of, energies and entities and different types of things outside of ourselves. When people are kind of like saying things like, oh, like if you saw something, it was a hallucination, or like, it's kind of like, all right, there's a difference between like a spiritual belief and, a spiritual belief versus, seeing, what I'm trying to say. Like, there's a difference between a spiritual belief, such as someone feeling or thinking that they had a vision or some sort of spiritual insight, versus having like a visual hallucination or delusion. Like, those are different belief oriented types of experiences. They're pretty different than if it was like psychosis symptoms and things like that. Anyways, I mean, I wasn't really going to talk specifically about all that, but I also want to remind people, keep checking the show notes. I'm updating show notes. It's taking me a bit, guys, because I'm just, I do things on my phone. I'm transferring from the heavy phone use to use more of my laptop. But I mean, the challenge is kind of like everything's on my phone, so it's kind of hard. And then my phone is, everything's hard to like log in. I started updating things, and now it's like, okay, like all the logins are all weird and wonky, so bear with me. But I did start last week trying to update some stuff, so I'm gonna continue going back through all the show notes, putting in all the links and everything. I've got some affiliate links I'm adding for products that people might have interest in for this community of people. Putting in some links for some free content, some free information. A lot of it's sort of self-help related, along the lines of supportive things to help people with stress related to like non-binary needs and different types of things like that. Again, I'm not a licensed practitioner of any sort, so that's why I say it's self-help. A lot of it is rooted in what I've learned and gone to school for, and learned working in the field for so many years now. I'm going on 8 years kind of being in the field. Going on 6 years this December will be my 6th year of working actually as an employee, getting paid. But then I had about 2 years of practicum beforehand, so yeah, almost 8 years if you count all the schooling. I went to grad school, I went to a little bit of other grad school, I went to I got a bachelor's before that, before getting my master's, got an associate's before that. So I've been in school a lengthy amount of time, so I know a thing or two, as well as working with people, with the public. I really do take into account what people tell me works for them. Of course, it's not like a one-stop shop for everybody, right? But I do kind of know the holes in the field, especially in my own community locally where I live, and I think a lot of that I can kind of spread helpful information that way. So I'm definitely providing something free. It's just, I hesitate to post things like that because it's a lot of personal info on my end. Another part is, not only is it kind of personal and kind of, it's kind of like my baby, it's kind of like when you have artwork or when you have a creative project you've been working on for a bit. It's like, okay, I don't want people judging this or like critiquing it or anything. It's like, I'm putting it out there because this is what comes out of me. Like, I'm not putting it out there for other people to kind of be like, oh, there's like a typo or whatever. But I mean, it's like, I know there's going to be typos. That's one thing that really I try not to make typos. But if it's free, I'm going to start with a free version. It'll be used as a pilot to see if I'm going to put it into a book. But for now, it's just going to be a short pamphlet. Short is kind of similar to how I record podcasts. It's like my version of short is still kind of lengthy, so it should be a lot of good information there, a lot of good tips, things for people to find support and help that they can do from the comfort of their own home, as long as you have Wi-Fi. I'll probably post it up on a blog or somewhere where you can easily download it for free as a PDF or something along those lines, and it'll be available for you. So my phone is dying, of course. Of course my phone's dying. Of course the battery's gonna die. I'm at 11%, so that's fine. But my phone is dying. Oh gosh. So okay. But yeah, like I mentioned, wanting to talk more about relationships and 10% relationships and those types of needs that people might have. So there's a cool, super cool Instagram. I guess she's a therapist. Her name is Casey Tanner. She's an MA, LCPC, CST. What are all of these? Let's see. She identifies as she, they, as a sex therapist. So, there are some things that I kind of like recently reading through her information. But it's something that I would say, if you're gonna take it, as far as what she wrote with like the sex therapy type of background, and really it really transfers into relationships in a lot of different ways. So because not every relationship is sexual, but I think it's still good content to look at, because it can take you through relationships that might be sexual in nature or have like a different, like, higher level of intimacy, and then comparing those to other resources that are, or other, information that is not so sexual in nature, and maybe it's just friendly, just something like that. I don't know if you guys watch Jubilee videos, but just real quick, I was watching one that was about different groups of people who were interested in sexual relationships. There was more like polyamorous people who like to date or have relationships with more than one partner, might have a main primary partner, and then might date around with other people or have other intimate friendships of some sort that are more than just buddies. And then it was comparing those polyamorous people to the monogamous people, looking at their different explanations of why they believe that they prefer their lifestyle compared to the other lifestyle. A lot of it came down to monogamous people being kind of concerned more about the jealousy and their take on, having a relationship with just one person, not wanting multiple people involved, and feeling like, okay, it's more special to just have me and this one person forever. And then the polyamorous people were, something that kind of stuck with me that they were saying was that they are saying, like, okay, like with friendships, you have different friends, right? You might have a best friend, but you'll have like other friends. You don't just have like a friend. Usually a lot of people have more than one friend. That's normal for people to have more than just one friend, right? You wouldn't just say, this is my friend and this is the only person I can ever say is my friend ever. That's not too common. And across cultures, that's not too common. And so they were saying, along those lines, why not have multiple partners? I mean, and this is consensual, like, and there are rules and agreements, and it's not just, okay, like, you cheated on me and slept with somebody else, so I'm gonna go sleep with some other person. It's not like vindictive or anything like that. It's like very, in a healthy way. I mean, there's definitely a healthy method to do this. And I thought that was pretty cool how they mentioned that. But yeah, when talking about different types of closeness with relationships, I mean, they have topics on here that are very interesting to consider, such as one that I read on the weekend, I think, or maybe it was before the weekend. I think it was on the weekend. There was a post that said, sometimes I want to, ... It said, kiss, cuddle, make out, get undressed, shower together, sleep naked without initiating sex. And so it was basically, there's an article underneath it that basically talks about that there is potentially a lower desire versus a higher desire partner, and things that happen when, if you're in a relationship with somebody. I'm trying to like read this like briefly again. And then, that there's kind of this situation that can come up where, both people are trying to be attuned to each other's levels of desire, as she words it, being attuned to each other's levels of desire. But then, there's kind of that kind of challenging aspect where the person who's trying to initiate sex in a situation, that's kind of a vulnerable position to be in, or if they're expecting that that's going to happen, if it hasn't, if it's been a while, or if they're just kind of misunderstanding or misreading the cues where like, okay, somebody just wants to cuddle, that doesn't mean that they're trying to like do anything other than that. Ultimately it came down to the communication, of course, and then different people having different definitions of sex and sexual activities, different things, understanding people's expectations, and understanding, what will or won't result in a fight or withdrawal or some kind of difficult emotions coming up between either person or however many people might be involved in this. But I just thought it was interesting because, it kind of made me think about different types of relationships. That's why I'm bringing up all these things. Like when I was listening to that episode about polyamorous people and monogamous people, and then also reading this article about wanting to have intimacy, physical intimacy of some sort without another person being disappointed that, oh, maybe they didn't want sex actually, or they just wanted to do something very intimate without actually having sex. And it just kind of brought up, kind of like all these different kind of topics that are attached to that. And it's interesting because I'm not really just only trying to talk about people having sex here. It's just, if that's what people want to do, that's fine too. I mean, keep it safe, keep it, consensual. Other than that, I can't tell people what to do as long as you're consenting adults, and you're doing things in a healthy way, being respectful of each other and of yourself. I can't say for somebody to do or not do something. I'm not a sex shaming person. I'm not a kink shaming person. I'm not here to shame people. My tone might not really, I just talk however I'm talking. Like a lot of times the way I'm speaking is because of my energy, and I'm recording these after work and I'm pretty exhausted and tired, but I'm not trying to sound judgmental in any way. And I'm not judgmental about it. I'm fully like a sex positive person. I'm all about people doing what they and their partners want to do. Go for it, have fun. But I just think it's super interesting to look at different aspects of relationships. So say if we're talking about this without the actual friendship or relationship or girlfriend or boyfriend or they friend or partner of a sort or partners, if we're not talking about that, just the article alone is talking about, sometimes you want something, right? That, these types of things come up where it can be uncomfortable, right? It's like sometimes you want something. There's something that you want, that you desire. I can give an example. I can easily give an example. A lot of times I want to, I don't know what's up with me in the past. It's kind of like something that maybe COVID brought out of me. I didn't have COVID. Thankfully, thank the heavens and everybody who is potentially up there. Just I'm thankful I didn't get COVID. And if I did get it, I didn't know, but I don't think I had it. But I'm so thankful that I didn't. And that's not in a bragging way. It's just I think everyone who didn't get it is thankful, right? Like I don't think anybody's like, I wish I had it. I've never heard anybody say that. But so sometimes like I've like I when I had it, and it's probably because I switched jobs, but when I had a different job that was way more stressful, I was totally like, all I want to do is party. Like if you told me we were gonna go party after work, I'd go party after work. If you want to party before work, I'll party before work. I was just like, dude, let's party all weekend. Let's party all night. Let's party whenever I don't have to work. Let's freaking party. Like I'm just trying to blow off some steam. People who know me well know what I mean when I say party. You know what that would include, because if you were involved in that, you were there and you know. And I'm not going to go into details, but yeah, my life was a little bit more wild before recently. And then during the pandemic, during the heart of it, like we couldn't do anything, like. And so a lot of my friends and I, like, yeah, we kind of, there was a solid crew of us, maybe 10 or less people. There was a solid crew of us that was like, these were the only people I really saw for like the good part of like a year and a half, other than work, clients at work or coworkers or people that I lived with. I saw just the same people, and it was fine. I love them. I would love to see them every day. I don't really care if it's the same people or what, but our activities definitely changed. We hung out a lot at the park, had some kickbacks outdoors, at the beach, at the park. It was like beach park. Occasionally indoors if it was just a couple people, but that was super rare. And it was always going to be the same people. This was even before vaccines were available. And then once the vaccines were available, we all had to get vaccinated because most of my friends work in mental health. So we were all kind of vaccinated super early, like December and January. So of 2021, we were all vaccinated. So is that right? I feel like I'm like losing, like I get so thrown off about the years now. I'm like thrown off if it was 2021 or 2020. Anyways, you know what I mean. We got vaccinated, some of the first people. And so, because we're considered essential workers and all these things, we kind of did feel a little more comfortable hanging out because a lot of us weren't seeing people in person. And even if we were all vaccinated and worked in places that were super, super careful and cautious about sanitization and or sanitizing, I don't know what you call it, but we were super comfortable. And then we basically stayed comfortable, kept hanging out, but I got so used to doing quieter, calmer things. And that's kind of how I used to live my life when I was super involved in church and stuff. It was mostly like we go out to boba, maybe go out to movies, just kind of simple hangouts, like hang out at each other's houses, hang out at the church, do a lot of community service and volunteer work together. Like these were things that we did for fun. We'd like work at people's houses and like clear out their yards and help elderly people with a bunch of stuff and help people move and feed the homeless. And like this is what we did for fun, because like the religion I was a part of, the people that I hung out with were super hardcore in the religion, and they weren't really allowed to do much stuff because it was super strict. And so I kind of just went by the strictest person's kind of rules. And we did stuff that the pastors were allowed to do because I was hanging out with pastors all the time. And so, like, they're not going to be doing too much extra, And, like, yeah, it was fun. It was great. But there was always a part of me that was like, just like I need to, like, get out of this, Like, I was like, it was fun. It was great. But it wasn't fully fulfilling a part of me that just needed to just kind of, like, go a little wild. And then I had my wild years. And I feel like that kind of ended, honestly. I feel like I don't really care to be too wild anymore. And when I'm out with my friends, I'd rather have connections with them and, be open about things. And I find it really challenging because a lot of times we hang out at gay bars, we hang out at gay clubs, we hang out at loud, noisy places and drink and drink and drink and drink. Even if I'm not the one drinking a lot, it's like other people might be, which is fine. And I'm not against it and I'm not judging it. And, I love it, but it's like, I do find myself sometimes just being like, can't we just go on a walk, or can't we just like chill at the park again, or can't we just go out for dinner, or can't we just chill at the place and like watch a video or watch a movie or watch a show, or like just chill out on somebody's patio somewhere and like smoke a joint or something. Like, can't we just relax, like. And also where I live, it's kind of not the easiest place. Like, I've explained this. A lot of us might be in our 20s and 30s and we live with other people. So you don't really have that privacy that you might have in other cities or other, states where it's like affordable in most other places. If you're considering like maybe like San Francisco, the Bay Area, like New York, LA, and then I'm in San Diego, so it's like in like Orange County, of course, too, but like, yeah, Southern California, even like Santa Cruz, there's some certain places where it's like you're sharing a unit, you're sharing a house with a bunch of people, and I don't want my friends over to my house. Like, even Friday night, I went out to dinner with a friend, and I was like, there's a restaurant that I get takeout from all the time and have for like multiple years now. And so I really didn't want to get takeout. And then I didn't want to get takeout and then not I didn't want to eat at the restaurant with my friend and then have to like be there with the same waiters who I see like all the time, because I'm always ordering takeout from this restaurant. And so we went and got the same type of food at a different spot, and it's just stuff like that where it's like, if you're a very private person, which I am, I'm just like, I don't want people up in my business, so I don't really have company over. I don't think I'm supposed to anyways, but it's like, whatever, I just don't anyways. My place is so small, I don't have a desire to really have people packed into my bedroom like I did when I lived in a different part of the city. This place is so small, I can't even like fit anything other than like a yoga mat. A yoga mat's worth at the foot of my bed and around like one of the sides of my bed. And so it's like, I really don't have that much space to be inviting people over unless everybody wants to sit on my bed. Like, cool. I got like a desk chair and then a yoga mat if that's where you want to sit, but that's not comfortable. And and then the walls are super thin, so that's why I even record podcast episodes in my car, because the walls are so dang thin. And so it's like, I feel like I can't even record in my car, and I can't even record in the house. And I can, but it's like, I don't want people overhearing all my gay topics. And then, I don't want to be, it's just a lot. It's a lot. But, yeah, with my friends, it's kind of like, yeah, sometimes I appreciate just the sitting around and just kind of chilling and doing kind of relaxing things, and, not having to be just like wild all the time. I kind of just want to rest and like relax and like chill with them and talk to them and stuff. And it's really hard to be like, hey, let's catch up like in the middle of a club. Like, there's no seating. We're not catching up. We're not like talking. So it's like, yeah, let's go out and dance, and that's fun, and like we talk in the line, or we'll talk if we like pregame somewhere, or we'll talk if we need a breather and go out on the patio. But it's like, it's not the same. Like, there's people all over the place, everybody there is trying to party. Like, I've had some pretty deep conversations in clubs and bars and stuff too, because it does kind of like lower your inhibitions and stuff. But it's like, it's kind of hard to be doing that all the time, and then like also at a bar too, it's like sometimes there's DJs and musicians and things, and then it's like, yeah, am I going to be just like having this deep conversation in the middle of a bar? It's like, it's hard, like it's noisy, it's loud, people can overhear your conversations. It's like I'm just trying to like chill sometimes. And so that would be my example of sometimes when it's like there's something that I want. Sometimes I just want to do certain things without initiating a party, Like, I'm not trying to throw a gigantic, massive rager. I just want to, kick it with my friends and catch up and, like, connect with them. And I don't feel like there's too much of a connection when we're just, like, everybody balls out going wild all the time. And then, it's like, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy myself, but it's like, it doesn't feel like things fully connect too. And it's like, I don't know, like I love it, but it's like it's hard. I have a hard time with it lately. I'm having a super hard time with it, I'll be honest. It's not easy for me. Ever since summer I've started noticing this. It's not easy for me, and I'm like, dude, like I just want to chill. I'm not saying that I'm never gonna party with people or that I'm gonna avoid parties, but I do notice myself being like, like, no, I just won't. I try not to cancel. So when I do make plans, unless I'm sick or unless I'm like really having a bad day, or there's like, an emergency, like the car breaks down or some other emergency, like, I don't know, like my bank account gets hacked or something that I need to like take care of immediately, I'm usually not gonna like like yeah, unless I need to take care of something like that, I'm usually not going to cancel. But a lot of times I just won't accept an invitation if it's like, dude, I was just going to work on this laptop and then somebody wants to go out and party, and I'm like, I'd rather just work on the laptop and just stay home by myself and like think in my mind and like be in my own head and work on my own projects. And like, I really do value being in my own mind, being in my own head, hearing my own thoughts. Sometimes I need to get out of it, and then other times, like lately, I've noticed I really enjoy being in my mind. So I find it a lot of times more valuable than going out for clubs and bars, and then you have to Uber. It's like I'm gonna spend $40-$50 just on Uber 3 miles round trip, and then as well as tips and stuff like that, and then go out, even if it's like 1 drink or 2 drinks, and it's like at least like $6-7 a drink on top of that tax and tip. So you add that up, that's like $60-$70 more than that, just to go out. And I didn't even really get to catch up with my friends. It's like, I just drank with them and sat and stared at the DJ or danced or something, and it's like, it's fun, but I'm like, I don't know, man. But it's fun like every once in a while, but I feel like it's kind of at a point where it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to kind of bring it up, right? Because there's the whole situation where it's like, okay, like, if somebody is being kind of vulnerable, putting it an option out there, like, I don't want to be like rejecting them, like being like, oh, I'm rejecting you. Like, I don't want my friends to feel rejected or to feel like I don't like them or that I don't want to see them or that I don't want to hang out with them. But sometimes I just want to chill, and that's not chill sometimes, just partying all the time isn't chill. It can be a little stressful. I mean, it can help if I'm like under the influence of a lot of things, but then it's like, well, now I got to pay for all that. And then it comes out of health costs too, because then it's like, I'm working on my health, physical health and stuff. I can't be waking up hungover on like, okay, went out Friday night, hungover all Saturday, and it's like, okay, I was going to wake up and go to the gym and then go hike on Saturday or go to the beach or something and get in a workout. I wasn't trying to like nurse a hangover. So it's like stuff like that where I'm like, is it worth the party sometimes, That's kind of just where my head is. I know everybody kind of has their own thing that they prefer, but that's just me. I'm not saying that people shouldn't party. I'm not saying my friends shouldn't party. I'm not saying I don't want to see my friends or that I won't hang out with them, but I'm just saying that's a struggle. But yeah, there is that aspect of rejection and vulnerability. There is that aspect of if someone else initiates and sends the invite, then it is a vulnerable move. And it's also kind of, you know, the expectations and things like that. That's another thing that comes up, is because, like, a lot of times I've had some expectations with some friends where it just wasn't too, like, people not following through and stuff. And I kind of have taken it, another step in a way to just not really schedule too much stuff, because it stresses me out. Like, when I'm hanging out, I want to be with my friends and hang out and relax and, like, you know, catch up and stuff. I'm not trying to be on my phone answering calls from, like, every single person that never was going to show up in the first place, you know. So I don't like to be the one who plans, because then I can't really relax. A lot of times I don't know who's going to show up, and when they do show up, it's like, okay, is it going to be on time? And then they need to get in touch with me. And, like, usually I'm the person that, like, I'll invite you, I'll tell you where I'm going to be, when I'm going to be there. And then I'll just, once the first person or maybe one or two people show up, I'm usually going to put my phone in my pocket and I'm not going to check it. Unless I know that somebody's going to call me in 30 minutes or whatever, I turn it off. And, you know, out of respect to my friends who were there, you know, and available at that time, I just assume, hey, if I didn't hear from you, you're probably not coming. And, you know, I'm not going to sit and text you all night while I'm out with my other friends. You know, it's kind of like, that's not helpful either. So, you know, because it kind of gets in the way of my vibe of hanging out. So, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I know a lot of people love planning stuff. I'm not one of those people. I like planning stuff for myself, not for, like, groups. I no longer enjoy that because, you know, it's just the culture of where I live. Like, people don't really show up on time. People aren't, I wouldn't call them flaky, but people are super flexible about things. I do know flaky people sometimes, but I mean, it's not all flaky. Like, it's, you know, most people do usually follow through, but it's just getting there on time, getting to the right place on time. And then if you have, like, 6-7 people asking you different things, different directions, I'm like, I don't want to be on my phone with, like, 6 different people. And especially if I'm, like, having a drink or something, it's like, dude. And people are like, yeah, like, you never responded. It's like, yeah, I was responding all day until I got there, and then I stopped responding. It's like, I don't need, usually I'll tell people when I'm on my way. Usually I'll tell people where I'm at when I show up somewhere. And then once people start rolling in, that's the end of me texting, unless, like, sometimes when I go to the bathroom, I'll text people. But other than that, it's like, I'm now in the moment, no longer paying attention to other people who weren't necessarily showing up. It's like, dude, I'm here to hang out, you know? That's just how I feel about it. I know everyone has their own methods. I'm not trying to be bitter about it. It's just like, you know, time is precious. Energy is precious. My time with my friends is precious. And so if I'm with them, I want to be with them. I'm not trying to be with them while I'm partially in the same room with them and then just texting everybody else. And then it turns out nobody else shows up and, you know, that kind of thing. It's just, it gets messy. So I just, you know, it's just my way of kind of just making sure that I have as much fun as I possibly can have when I do show up and when everybody else who's coming does show up. And yeah, trying to set limits. That would be kind of a limit, for me. And then, you know, trying not to have things result in fights or withdrawals. So fighting, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't say my friends fight. Like, people get a little, like, hurt about stuff, or a little bit, like, annoyed of, like, oh, this person was acting a fool or did something that was kind of, like, not socially okay, if something our group would do or not do. And then the withdrawal would be more like, okay, nobody wants to hang out because something weird happened. Or nobody wants to hang out because people are a little upset with each other about how things did or didn't go. I'm not really like that. You know, usually I'm, like, still gonna come out. But but yeah, being explicit, you know, kind of asking for what you're looking for. Because the thing is, I think one thing that makes a relationship pretty close um, with people is you being able to get what you want, them being able to get what they want. So, a compromise. So I'm not against partying and going out for drinks and all that kind of stuff. So of course I'm going to go some of the time. Like sometimes I'll just be like, even if I'm not in the mood, I'm just like, I'll just kind of get my energy up just to go out and just be like, I kind of did kind of avoid them a couple other times and stayed home and was like geeking out on this computer project and doing all these other things solo by myself and just ignoring my friends for a while. And sometimes I'll be like, even if I don't fully want to do it, I do want to see them. And I think it will make them happy to kind of just go. But then it's like, sometimes I want to do something else. So it kind of just depends, like if I notice like, okay, everything I plan, nobody's trying to do it, even though they say they are, then everybody flakes. And then like, but then they keep inviting me to show up to their stuff. It's kind of like, okay, there's no real give or take there. So a lot of times, I mean, this is just how I operate. A lot of times when people start really being flaky or canceling a lot for me, then it kind of makes me feel a little less obligated towards them. Because it's like, okay, like I'm doing what you want, and like, I'm kind of hanging out and doing the things that you want to do. And then, they're never following through on their end. So it's kind of like it's not like in a vindictive way either. And it's not like like I'm doing it out of spite. It's just kind of my way of protecting my energy. It's like, cause I notice I get a little like, I don't know if bitter is the word, but I get a little like irritated by it, I guess. Like when I notice these things. So I think that's one key, is just trying to make sure there's a reciprocal type of thing going on in the relationships with people. Anything from friendships to partners to dating or whatever it may be, is like once you've been hanging out for a while, once you've been getting to know each other for a while, trying to kind of build on that and see kind of like what it is they want. Some people will tell you, hey, I want to go work out. Hey, I want to go do this. Hey, I want to go do that. And then, just trying to like she was mentioning here too, and I've mentioned it before too, like having that attunement, being attuned to the other person or other people, kind of what they want to do. If it's really not against your beliefs or things that you enjoy, I mean, it is good to sometimes be like, okay, I'll, even if I don't fully 110% want to do this, hang out or go, to coffee or whatever. Like, I might not really, really, really want to do that. I might rather want to stay home and just watch some stupid movie on the internet. But, sometimes you just want to hang out with your friends. And so, sometimes it is that compromise of, okay, like, we'll do this time. And I'm not saying like you have to like sacrifice your soul or do something you're uncomfortable doing, but you know what I mean? It's like sometimes you just don't fully want to do that. Like sometimes I might not fully want to go to a bar or a club, but I'll still go. I don't feel bad about it, but I'm not saying people should pressure themselves. Like it's up to you. That's your own call. But, if you have your own boundaries, your own limits, do what you think is right for you. But, being attuned to other people, you don't want people to feel uncomfortable or for there to be a lot of misunderstandings or rejection feelings or, or just so much avoidance because people can't really feel like they're having a fun time together, and it's like it gets a little stressful or a little like, well, I'm not getting what I want, so I'm just not going to talk to these people anymore. That's pretty selfish, but it's like, it should be reciprocal, give and take. And I think that's the way to kind of build relationships strongly, is to make sure that you're getting what you want, they're getting what they want. People kind of all understand each other. I'm one of those people who's pretty repetitive about things. Like, I'll say things to my friends a lot that I think that they get. Like, I'll be like, hey, I like weed over alcohol. I'm way more into weed over alcohol. Way, way more, like 110% more. Will I drink? Yeah. But I like weed far more. Like, if you give me a choice, I'm definitely going to want to smoke. I like where my head goes. I like my cognitive experiences, my social experiences, my body experiences way more than with alcohol. Um, the only time I kind of like alcohol is if I'm really gonna party, but usually I prefer weed. Usually that's my preference. I don't know how old people are who are listening to this, but don't do anything illegal or underage. Um, my state where I live, I'm doing things within the legal limits, so don't worry. Um, I'm not driving around with the potential to get DUIs or under the influence, nothing like that. I'm staying safe and it's legal, so I'm having legal safe party fun. But um it's hard, I would say it's hard for people who are LGBTQ plus. It's hard for people. It's hard for people in general, even straight people, straight cis people. It's hard for them too. It's hard for people with like gender related kind of stressors or gender minorities. It can be difficult, right? Because a lot of us have other stress going on already. Like, that's why there was a part of my life where I was just like, whenever I hang out, I just want to party. Like, I don't want to talk about my life. I don't want to talk about my problems. I don't want to talk about anything. I just want to forget about it. That was my style of hanging out with people, was just forget about everything. I'm not trying to like interact too much about it, and then, I got more and more used to interacting about things with some friends, and then realized, oh, I actually really like that and find value in it again in my life, because I used to value it, when I was involved with church people way more. The thing that I didn't like is that we couldn't really have open conversations. It was very like judgmental and like reserved, and like you couldn't really actually talk about your problems. It was like, I can have problems, I can have emotions, feelings, some issues going on, but I couldn't really actually bring it up with my friends, like not in a way that like there was like confidentiality or people that you could actually really trust. It was kind of more like you can tell them and then they're probably going to blab it to a bunch of other people, or at least another person who's going to maybe blab it to another person. There was just a lot of talking amongst people or overhearing things and nosiness. And I mean, it would still stay within a group of people, but sometimes you didn't want a group involved in a thing. It was like say if you had a crush on somebody, and then like that happened to a friend of mine, man. I felt so bad. I had this friend who was super, 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 super shy, and was into this person, confidentially confided in one of her friends, who was kind of like, the friend was kind of interested in being like on a pastoral level. So my friend A, the really shy one, confided in friend B about this person she was so like crushing on. And person B was like going to be this pastor, or was kind of like around the theology field of some sort, and trying to be like a therapist and things. And person A, the really shy one, was always struggling with like relationships and like feelings of self-worth. That's mostly what it seemed like. A lot of people liked her. I had a lot of guy friends that were like totally into her. Still are. They're still totally like crushing on her. And she wouldn't really go for any of them. I remember one of the pastor's brother kind of told some of us that were females, was kind of like, hey, there's this group of guys that like, maybe they're not the most popular, but all of them would be really great guys. They'd treat you nice. They'd treat you good. Maybe they're not, socially, studs or anything, but like they were kind of a little on the nerdier side, but were super kind, gentle sweethearts of men, and would treat you right. And so I was like, yeah. And I hung out with these guys, so I kind of knew, like, I would always hang out with guys a lot, so I really totally knew that those guys were totally solid, good men. But oh my gosh, man. Like, so friend B went and told friend A's crush, hey, this friend is like in love with you, really likes you, all this kind of stuff. And then friend B went back to friend A and was like, hey, I told your crush that, I was that I was into you, that you were, wait, what did they say? I told your crush that, that you were into them, and they're not really too interested. And then yeah, that friend was telling me about the situation, and I felt so bad. I was like, dude, that sucks. Because they felt like really embarrassed, and like person A did. And then person B was kind of one of those like more outspoken, outgoing people that kind of just like said whatever when they felt like it. Like, not like they weren't mean, they weren't like too terrible, but it's like, dude, that's a messed up thing to do to somebody. I'm sorry. But yeah, because they didn't want the other person to know. They were kind of like, I really like them, but I really don't want them to know, because they were kind of like, I can tell they're not really interested. But I don't know, things like that. They were just kind of like wrong, where I was like, really? Like, you didn't really have to tell everybody. Like, that's messed up, it's not your that's not a good way. And I remember I accidentally told some, well, because one of my friends had told me that they were like really into another friend of mine. So I was like, cool. And so it looked like they were gonna date, or at least go out on a date, because I was kind of like, yeah, tell them that you're interested in going on a date. And then, they confronted my friend about it, and my friend said yes. I think my friend shouldn't have said yes, because they didn't mean yes. They were just leading the person on, and they never followed through. And so, I was talking about this one. So that same friend had another lady like yelling at them once. And then I remember this other person that we all knew, me and this person were just sitting in the room talking with a bunch of other people that we all used to hang out, and we were all just like eating I think it was near Thanksgiving or something. The church gave like a Thanksgiving dinner, and then we let the community people who weren't from the church have the kitchen and the dining hall area, so they could sit comfortably in the tables and chairs. And we just had like these little chairs, and like we're sitting on the floor in one of the rooms that we used. Like, we were just all eating together and just chilling and doing our own thing. And so we just started talking, and then I was like, yeah, I feel bad for like this other friend of ours, because this lady was like yelling at him and like whatever. And then that friend thought I was talking about some other person and was like, what? That person has a crush on this other person? And I was just like, I mean, I wasn't even saying that, but they just yelled that out really loud. So I was like, now I don't know what to do, because like you're putting me in a fucking weird position. Like, because I don't, I really try. I mean, everybody lies. I try not to lie, but so I was like, man, now you put me between a rock and a hard place, because I don't want to be like, like outing them with their situation, because they told me this, and like I know it's kind of like a private situation that they didn't really want everybody knowing. I mean, I wasn't like dishing out details, but I was just like, dude, like, why are you talking so loud? And I was like, I wasn't even talking about that. And of course, like when they said that, everyone in the room gets quiet, and I was like, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about this other person that was yelling at them. And then I was like, but yeah, like, what do you want me to say? Like, now that you've like just said it and spread it to the whole world. But I was kind of like saying it like that. I was kind of like a little irritated, and kind of let them know that like, that's not cool that you just kind of blabbed it like that. And like, that's not even what I said. I wasn't even saying that, but I did kind of say it, I guess. Like, and then I was like, I didn't really know what to say, because I was kind of on the spot. And I was like, I would never just purposely be like, oh yeah, this person told me this thing, and like, let me go tell other people. Like, I'm not like that. But it was just hard, that was hard. But stuff like that, like a lot of stuff with crushes, and a lot of stuff with different kind of personal things. But I mean, there was some trust that we could like, there were some things that a lot of us shared. But I feel like a lot of things were between the group. They always made it between like the group of people, and it was nice that we kind of had that. Like, it was a level of intimacy, but it was like we kind of all had that, but it was very reserved. level that I was kind of always like, well, there's all these other things that I always have going on that I'd like to talk about, or like maybe they're not issues, or maybe I don't have them going on. Maybe it's not like that, but there's other stuff that kind of happens that like it was just not socially okay to talk to people from the church about those things. You kind of just learned and were kind of taught socially that it's not okay to discuss this stuff. And a lot of us grew up with a lot of shame and a lot of like judgment and things like that. So that's definitely something that shows up in my life in other kind of situations where I'm just like, man, it sucks. Like, it's like now I gotta like deal with this and think about this, and like I'm always second guessing things. And so it's nice that I have friends that I can actually like party with and be kind of real with, and not have to worry about them like judging me about some weird religious rules and stuff. But it's also kind of like hard that it's kind of hard that it's like, okay, now we're all the way on the other extreme where it's like everybody's drinking and like, whereas with the church people, we would never be drinking. That would never be like a thing. We didn't even go to bars. We didn't even go. I mean, there's this place we used to go because we liked the food, and it was already taboo because people were eating meat. That was already an issue. And then on Saturday nights, sometimes or most times, I don't know, it was like it was like a Peruvian place. And so it was called El Pollo Inca, and they'd have a dance floor every now and then. This is in like Gardena or somewhere like that. They'd have a dance floor, and then they were like, I think it was like salsa nights and stuff. And they were like, oh, it's like, it was so taboo that there was even a dance floor. And I remember once being like, oh, we should go in, and then like everyone was like, no, like we can't go, like there's dancing. And I was like, man, like we can't just, it was like a live band, I think too. I think it was a live band. And I was like, man, like that would be so cool to just like see like live music and just like chill, and like they're not charging you. Like if you ate at the restaurant, you could just go right over to the dance floor area. And I was like, it was like two separate buildings. So you didn't really know that was going on when you're in the restaurant. And you come out of the restaurant and there was kind of like a little lobby area. So the lobby would lead to the restaurant or to the dance floor. And like there was like a little club in there. And I was like, dude, this is so cool. But, the taboos with the dancing and stuff, it wasn't okay. So, stuff as simple as that, as like eating meat and watching live music that involves dancing and like, being in a place with alcohol, those things were already so taboo that it was like, God forbid you have like an actual problem to discuss, that was always like a massive issue. So it's kind of like, that's where I'm coming from with, my background of socializing with people. But I mean, it's hard out there, guys. It's hard out there to be socially active, to be socially kind of like involved with people, to kind of build relationships from scratch. A lot of people are having to deal with that now. A lot of people lost relationships and weren't able to see people and got disconnected, and now they're reconnecting and it might not feel the same, and you're trying to maybe meet new people too, and it's just a huge challenge. Not impossible, not easy though. And so I hope that's helpful. I mean, I have a little over a minute that I can record still on here, but I hope that's helpful. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that goes on that's like, now it's like a huge area that people are kind of in need to have help about. People really are kind of struggling to kind of find that social interaction. And yeah, man, that's kind of where I am with things. But and that's kind of the topic that I had for today. And I know it's messy. It's always kind of messy, guys. It's always a little bit messy, a little bit like disheveled conversation, if that's what we want to call it. But yeah, as usual, I'm glad you guys tune in. Thanks so much for listening.